Hi, welcome to STEM Builders JM. As promised, today I'll be doing part 2 of the video that I started last week. I'll be looking at genetic engineering, mitosis, meiosis, artificial and natural selection. So that's X-linked inheritance. So stay tuned. So big concept. Genetic engineering technology, natural and artificial selection, speciation, and sex-linked inheritance. Based on the examinations report over the years, examiners find that this particular concept or these areas of the syllabus are areas that students don't do as well on as they should. And it could be because this is the last part of the syllabus and maybe coverage is not as great, or it could be that the concept students are not grasping it as they should. So let's run through the concepts and look at some multiple choice questions. Genetic engineering, the movement of genes from one organism to another. So pretty much it's a transfer of genes from one organism to another. And genes can be transferred from one species to another or between the same species. So it can be the same species or it can be two different species. So the process of genetic engineering, this is how I summarize it and make it very simple and easy to understand. So you have the DNA from organism A, right? Example, humans, plus the DNA from organism B, example, a bacteria DNA. Here, the circular DNA in the bacteria is called the plasmid. So you combine the two, and the process is called recombinant DNA technology, right? Or genetic engineering. So you notice you have a little of A and you have some of B, and you get AB here. So this is the vector, which is the plasmid, the DNA taken from the bacterium. And in that, you have a piece of the human DNA. So that's the combination, right? So it's called recombinant DNA technology or genetic engineering. So in this case, it's two species. So it's DNA from two species. So remember, DNA from organism A plus DNA from organism B give you recombinant DNA, and the vector is the plasmid here, which is the circular DNA found in the bacterium. And it's a vector because it's carrying the genetic information, the DNA, that is going to be used, right, to make insulin. If in the case of insulin formation, you would take the gene for insulin from the humans, place it in the plasmid of the bacteria, and then place it back into the bacterium. And as the bacteria reproduce asexually, to be producing more of this gene, which can then be used to make insulin. So let's look at a question. Which of the following describes the process of genetic engineering? A, tissue sample is treated to promote growth of cells. B, stem cells are grown and used to treat medical problems. C, chromosomes from an egg cell are replaced by the nucleus from a somatic cell. And D, a gene is inserted into a vector which is then used to transfer the gene to a host cell. And the answer is D. So we just saw that gene is inserted into a vector, which was the plasmid right there. It's called a vector, which is then used to transfer the gene to a host cell. Usually the host cell is the bacterium as well. Which of the following would be involved in the production of insulin by genetic engineering? 1, transfer of human insulin gene to a bacterium. 2, a vector to transfer the insulin gene. And 3, production of insulin by the bacterium. So which of the following would be involved in the production of insulin by genetic engineering? And the answer is 1, 2, and 3. So we just saw that being demonstrated in the theory that I explained to you. DNA from organism B, recombinant DNA, right? So 1, you have transfer of the human insulin gene into the bacterium, a vector to transfer the gene, and production of insulin by the bacterium, and that will take place via asexual reproduction. Next concept, Natural versus artificial selection. So in natural selection, the selective agent is the environment. Example, predation, disease, natural disasters. Like for example, now we have COVID happening. It's going to be interesting to see what will be the outcome in terms of like a lot of persons are dying, right? So they would die from the disease if they can't develop some sort of immunity or resistance to it. So you'll find that we're going to be living in a world, if COVID has its way, with persons who are resistant, because those who are not will probably die out. So artificial selection now is humans, example, farmers, plant and animal breeders. So that's what takes place for artificial selection. It's artificial, so it's not by the environment. It's through human action, right? So whether farmers want to breed a particular cattle, or whether human beings want a particular type of dog, and so they control the breeding process to get what they want. So they do the selection. Types of traits selected. So for natural selection, adaptations to the conditions in the environment at a particular time. So whichever characteristic is favorable at the time is the one that will be selected for, and the one that is not favorable will be selected against. And I have two examples here. Antibiotic resistance, right? You find that bacteria are becoming resistant to antibiotics because the bacteria that are able to survive, are able to not be killed by the antibiotic, are the ones that continue to reproduce. And so we're finding that the bacteria now that exist are resistant. So they're able to survive a dose of antibiotics without, being killed. And so they develop that sort of resistance, and that's the one that is selected for, while the one that is not resistant to the antibiotics selected against. And so you have the population with more bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. So we have to probably find a new source of treatment because of this, because otherwise when you take the antibiotic, it will have no use. And again, you can also look at the example for sickle cell anemia. Now, sickle cell anemia, having the trait means that you cannot get the disease, you cannot get malaria, right? So you find that in malarial affected regions, like in Africa and the Caribbean, you'll find that the trait continues to exist, or sickle cell anemia continues to exist, because it has some sort of an advantage. However, if you have full-blown sickle cell, because of the risk of death, it's not as great, but having the trait, then you are able to resist malarial infection, and so it's selected for in that particular situation. So again, this is a disease that is controlling the selection or the environment. Useful characteristics, example, in artificial selection, human beings would select for useful characteristics. So if something is useful, right? In the case of sickle cell anemia, having full-blown sickle cell is not necessary, is not good, because that puts you at a high risk of death at an early age and so forth. So it doesn't matter in natural selection whether the trait is good or bad. It's the adaptations to the conditions in the environment at that particular time. While for artificial selection, you're controlling selecting. So you're going to select for things that are going to be beneficial to human beings, such as cattle that will produce more milk, or rice that will have greater yield, so you can have more food, right? Number of traits selected. In natural selection, all traits. In artificial selection, one or few. So you can make your plants pest resistant, the one particular trait that you think would be ideal, and you would do that. You would manipulate it. The speed for natural selection is very slow, years, millions of years even. While for artificial selection, it's quick, it's fast. So going back to my example with dog breeding and dogs, you have the wolf here, and all modern domestic dogs are descendants of the gray wolf. So you've seen all the different dog types here, but they came from one particular species, right? One species, the gray wolf. But through artificial selection, we're able to manipulate the genes and produce different types, different varieties. Let's look at a multiple choice question. Which of the following Which of the following is about natural and artificial selection? Natural selection occurs in domestic populations, natural populations. So which of the following is true, you know? This says faster process, slower process. So you can use the process of elimination based on what we just discussed. So environment acts on the population which adapts selective breeding for a particular trait. This is true. So the answer is C. The others are the other way, opposite. All right, speciation. This is the formation of new species. Species is a group of related organisms that are able to breed together and produce fertile offspring. Now that part is extremely important. Some organisms, even though they're from different species, may be able to breed together, but the offspring would be infertile. An example being used here is horse plus the donkey. So horse and a donkey, they kind of look alike, but they're very different. They're two different species. So when you combine them, it would produce a mule, and a mule is infertile. So it would not be able to continue its species to produce more mules. So it would be something that would have to be continually being done by humans, right? But mule would also have the characteristics that we need in terms of being a beast of burden, as well as, you know, a bit more faster than a donkey. Speciation. So speciation can be either geographical or ecological. So geographical separation by a physical barrier, example, a body of water or a mountain range, while ecological and behavioral separation can be either through habitat separation, that is, individuals occupy different parts of a habitat and over time become adapted to the conditions there. Or it could be, may result from a change in behavior. And I'll show you an example. So credit to the Amoeba sisters, they're very good. So you have geographic isolation here. If you really loved me, you'd swim across. So here you have the mountain and you have a body of water separating the two. So over a period of time, they'll become different species and not able to breed or to mate and produce a fertile offspring. Behavioral isolation. So this one is saying, oh, so country. Basically, she does not approve of his singing, which is what is used to get a mate, to attract a mate, and so she would not breed with him. Therefore, due to their behavior, they will become separate species. A species consists of members that occupy the same habitat, reproduce by asexual means, interbreed under natural conditions, interbreed to produce infertile offspring. And the answer is interbreed under natural conditions. So you use the process of elimination. Occupy the same habitat. They don't have to occupy the same habitat to be the same species. Reproduce by asexual means. Interbreed to produce infertile offspring. The fact that it says infertile is what makes it incorrect. Remember that a question, all of the questions have to be correct in order for it to be true. Speciation may be due to 1, geographical isolation, 2, behavioral differences in courtship, 3, mutation. So the answer is 1 and 2. While mutation may help in terms of drive natural selection and changes in genes, it by itself would not cause speciation. Big next concept. Definition of genetic terms, chromosome, gene, allele, cell division by mitosis versus meiosis. Let's go. So which of the following options correctly describes DNA, chromosome, gene, and allele? So A, deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA and histamine. For chromosome, gene, unit that codes for a specific protein, allele, and alternative form of a gene. Now remember what I said. For a question to be correct, all of it must be true, right? So the answer, most students will probably choose A because they say, oh, yeah, it's deoxyribonucleic acid, that's DNA for sure. But they would fail to realize that it says DNA plus histamine. Now, histamine is a chemical that is producing allergic reactions. That's why you have antihistamine like DPH and histacin. So this is not correct. So therefore, even if the rest of it is true, this disqualifies A. So the answer is C. Nucleic acid that has all the genetic information, DNA, and histone, the smallest unit of inheritance, an alternate form of a gene. So ensure that you pay attention and that you read the question carefully and you read the choices correctly and carefully. Which of the following terms refers to visible characteristics of living things? A, gene, B, genotype, C, phenotype, D, chromosome. So a gene, B, genotype, C, phenotype, D, chromosome. Which of the following terms refers to visible characteristics? So visible would be phenotype. Which of the following statements best describe a chromosome? A, two forms of the same gene. It's an allele. Structure made up of DNA swapped around wrapped. Structure made up of DNA wrapped around histones. That's correct. And we would have gone back to nucleic acid. It could be so 2 different years. So you find that it's essentially the same responses, but the question is asked in a different way. As a result of mitosis, each daughter cell has a variable number of chromosomes, B, twice the number of chromosomes as the parent, C, same number of chromosomes as the parent, D, half the number of chromosomes as the parent. So mitosis, and we're looking at the daughter cell. So it can't be variable, right? Because in mitosis, you're going to produce identical daughter cells. Twice the number of chromosomes, it must be a clone of the parent. So it must be identical to the parent and to each other. The same number of chromosomes as the parent, yeah. Half the number of chromosomes, no. So C is the correct answer. Which of the following is not a characteristic of meiosis? Maintenance, and remember the not. Circle it, make sure it's in your field of view so that you do not get confused, right? Maintenance of the diploid number, random assortment of genes, crossing over of chromosomes, genetic recombination of alleles. And the answer is A. So maintenance of a diploid number. Remember that in meiosis, the daughter cells would be haploid, right? And that's used to form gametes, which would be the sperm and the egg. Remember that each of them contains 23 chromosomes, which is half the full number, which is 46. So that is important though, because when sperm and the egg comes together, you get a full complement, you get a 46. So it can't maintain the diploid number there. So not a characteristic would be A. Which of the following describes the final stage of the process of meiosis? Which of the following describes the final stage of the process of meiosis? A, separation of the sister chromatids. B, homologous chromosomes pair up. C, homologous chromosomes separate. Crossing over of homologous. So the final stage would be C. Homologous chromosomes separate. So all of this would take place before. Tarzan and Jane, both of whom are heterozygous for blood groups A and B, respectively, can have offspring that are likely to be A, 100% AB. So you're going to look at, so both Tarzan and Jane are heterozygous for blood groups A and B. So heterozygous means they have both a dominant and a recessive allele, right? So, because if they had AB, that would be codominant. So they would have the recessive allele for blood group is O. So they would have AO and BO, right? So can all the offspring be 100% AB? Nope. All right, so the answer is D, and I'm going to show you why. So let's put it together. Tarzan and Jane, AO, BO. So they are both heterozygous. So you would get AB here, BO, AO, and OO. So that would give you 25% AB, 25% A, 25% B, and 25% O. So all of it would be 25%. So the answer is D. So again, AB, BO, AO, OO. Zane, the son of Tarzan and Jane, may have inherited the red-green colorblindness gene from his parents. Neither Tarzan nor Jane is colorblind. If N represents the allele for normal vision and small n represents the allele for colorblindness, the genotypes of the parents would most likely be A. And I'll show you why. So in sex-linked inheritance, remember that you have X and Y because it's sex-linked. So for the female, she's XX, being that she's a carrier, right? So let's go back to the question. Neither Tarzan nor Jane is colorblind. But Zane clearly has colorblindness. So it would therefore mean that Jane is a carrier. And Tarzan would not have it, because if he had the gene, it would be expressed, because the Y chromosome would not be able to counteract it, since it would have few genes on it. So it have little or nothing on it right there. So it wouldn't be carrying any gene to counteract it, right? So Tarzan is normal, Jane is a carrier. Therefore, that's the answer there. So Tarzan is normal, Jane is a carrier. And it's the only way Tarzan could be colorblind. Sorry, Zane could be colorblind. Right, so we're at the end of that revision process and multiple choice prep. So remember some keys to success: understand key concepts, read carefully, underline keywords, eliminate obvious wrong answers. So that's a key to answering multiple choice questions. Get rid of those wrong answers and focus on what you believe to be the correct response based on your studies and based on your common sense. Manage your time well and ensure that you answer every single question. When in doubt, do not choose C. Instead of a random guess, make sure that you guess, but guess aggressively. So if you become stuck on a question, don't automatically choose C. Do aggressive guess. So eliminate the wrong answers, the ones that you know to be incorrect, and bring it down to the two that are quite close. That will give you a 50-50% chance of being correct. So good luck on your exam. Remember to prepare and to practice. Thank you. Remember also to like and subscribe to our channel. And like and subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. Also click the notification bell to ensure that whenever I upload a video, you're the first to know. You don't want to miss it. Thank you. Bye. Until next week, when I'll be uploading my videos for HSP. I think I'll be doing one this week and then one next week. So students who are doing HSP, remember to share with your friends. Don't be selfish now. They want the information. So remember to share with them, and remember to continue to watch and tune in every week. Bye.